Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to all of you. I'm also actually here representing the Melton Foundation, and let me get straight to what I want to talk to you about today. So I'm going to share my screen, and what I want to talk to you about today is how digital spaces can have a great impact in terms of transformative change. And I'm speaking today from my perspective of working closely with three issues that I work with a lot. So the first one is advocacy for LGBTQ plus rights. The second one is I work as a trainer for SDG practitioners. And the third one is I work very closely in peace building when it comes to India and Pakistan. So what I noticed, or like the theme that I had a lot in my mind before the pandemic started, was that we are very connected, but very apart. And I felt like this tendency for us to grow apart was growing as the amount of information and the access to internet kept on increasing. And this was something that really disappointed me a lot, because I really feel that global citizenship, interconnectedness is really the answer to solve a lot of problems that we face today. And while I was pondering over this and working in India in 2019, I saw an extraordinary moment, an extraordinary movement, sorry, in New Delhi, where 150,000 Muslim women came together to peacefully protest against some policies of the government. And what this movement did was it brought together all of these people who were not talking to each other anymore, because they set an example for people to look up to. And this protest went on for 3 months, and I was on the ground as well, just being so inspired by these women and meeting so many different people who were finally looking up from their phones and actually talking to each other. But after 3 months, the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And like in many other parts of the world, social distancing norms were enforced in India, and all of these protesters were basically asked to go home. And I was like, okay, this is really disappointing, because I really felt that we, or at least in India, we had a movement that we all could look up to. And then I did some research, and I realized that a lot of other friends and activists from across the world were actually facing similar issues. They were no longer allowed to protest. And the governments all over the world were hiding behind, lockdown measures, even when the cases were not too much, and restricting people's freedoms. And this really concerned me a lot. And then somehow in late 2020, I realized that a lot of activism had moved online. I was able to meet extraordinary individuals from across the world who were working on any topic under the sun you can imagine. And they were working with as much enthusiasm and fervor as they would, if they were on the ground. So it really gave me a lot of hope. What I want to talk about today, and hope that we also talk about later in the breakout rooms later on, is what are the challenges and opportunities that emerge from a lot of this activism moving online. So maybe if we could have the poll quickly. Yeah, great. So as you can see, I'm sure that a lot of you have also experience with online activism or just bringing people together online. So what in your opinion is the biggest challenge when it comes to moving these movements from the real world to the digital space? So is it, slacktivism, which is basically just like, oh, I'm going to attend a Zoom meeting about LGBT rights, and now I'm an LGBTQ advocate. So just like slacking off and not doing enough, originally. Of course, it's very tedious to organize large online events. So maybe some of you experience that as a challenge. Security of participants is an issue, because everyone can see who you are, but also get access to your email, etc. And of course, in many parts of the world, the internet and access to a simple Zoom meeting is quite difficult. So I'm just curious to see what the challenges are. There's no right answer, really. All right. I can see some answers are coming in. Maybe we can keep it for 10 more seconds, and then we can share the results. Yeah, so the challenge that you've all voted for the most is not taking enough actions on the ground. Great. So I will also try to tell you from my experience. So I have here like a quick screenshot of our work being featured on one of the national newspapers of India when we first we organized the first ever India-Pakistan Pride meet last month. And based on this event and a lot of other events that I've been organizing, I feel like apart from the challenges that all of you voted for just now, there are also a lot of opportunities. A lot of us can actually reach a lot more people through the internet at a much lower cost. We spent virtually nothing on these events. We wrote so many petitions directly to a lot of to the ministries. It was super easy. We would have a Zoom call. We would share the links to the petition. People would just change the window and sign the petition. So it was much more easier to gain traction for these things. It was much easier, along the same lines for fundraising. We could involve a lot of remote organizations from different parts of India and Pakistan who don't usually get the mainstream visibility because they had internet and they could be part of these movements. And of course, it offered, especially around sensitive topics like LGBTQI rights in countries where it's not safe yet for queer people. It offered a lot of queer people anonymity to come and speak, and without sharing their images, just sharing their voice, and it was a chance for them to be heard. And of course, there are challenges, the challenges that we just spoke about, and I know that we have very little time, so I hope we can discuss these challenges a little further in the breakout rooms. I would like to end with two questions I really would like you to think about. So first one, how can the United Nations, which is a global organization, foster these inclusive spaces, these safe and brave spaces, where people from different walks of life can really step outside of their bubbles and interact with each other? And secondly, what has been your experience? How has all the incredible work that all of you do in the respective parts of your world, how has that moved online? And what do you see as opportunities and challenges? So yeah, that's it from me.